Hello, everyone. Mother Nature is enraged. Howling winds, trembling earth, and raging floods devour everything in their path. These terrifying moments serve as a stark reminder of nature's unstoppable power. Have you ever witnessed such a terrifying fury? Don't look away, because the most shocking scenes are about to unfold right now. Casualties. But the moment served as a harsh reminder from nature. Never gamble your life against the raw power of a flood. In the blink of an eye, a seemingly solid mountainside suddenly cracked and collapsed onto the Barmore-Lahal Highway. Massive slabs of earth and rock came crashing down, blocking the road as thick clouds of dust rose like a storm. Onlookers could do nothing but stand frozen, powerless against the overwhelming force of nature. The terrifying moment of a massive landslide in Japan on July 3rd, sweeping away houses, vehicles, and leaving at least 20 people missing. A raging torrent of black mud crashes down, burying everything in its way and leaving behind scenes of devastation and despair. Is nature sending us a dire warning about its destructive force? Stay vigilant and always be prepared for natural disasters. A house, caught in the raging floodwaters, tumbled and spun helplessly like a mere toy against nature's overwhelming might. It twisted violently, shattered apart, and crashed into a bridge with a devastating impact. Splintered debris was flung into the air before vanishing beneath the relentless currents. The raging floodwaters surged through the streets, sweeping away cars, trucks, and everything in their path. The murky torrent carried off even the heaviest metal vehicles as if they were mere playthings. Branches, debris, and shattered remnants swirled in the relentless deluge, creating a terrifying scene of chaos and destruction.
There it goes.
A violent tornado formed in Columbia, Mississippi, as warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico collided with cold air from the north. In an instant, fierce winds roared, ripping off rooftops, signs, and vehicles, turning them into swirling debris in the sky. Residents panicked, scrambling for shelter as the streets descended into chaos. When the tornado finally passed, the city lay in ruins, with many homes destroyed and rescue teams rushing to search for those trapped in the wreckage. Due to prolonged heavy rainfall, the valleys of Oman, particularly in the Ibra region, rapidly accumulated a massive volume of water. As the soil and rocks could no longer absorb the rain, a devastating flash flood erupted, sweeping everything in its path. At first, residents only noticed a trickle of water, but within seconds, a raging torrent engulfed the dry roads, turning them into a furious river. Some people frantically ran to higher ground, while others stood in shock, witnessing the destruction unfold before their eyes. A group of Chinese tourists, camping amidst the breathtaking scenery of Sichuan Valley, remained blissfully unaware of the lurking danger. Without warning, a devastating flash flood roared in, sweeping away tents, backpacks, and all their belongings into the raging waters. Frozen in shock, they could only watch helplessly as everything disappeared in an instant. A massive iceberg in Argentina unexpectedly flipped over, creating a breathtaking yet perilous spectacle. At first, it drifted idly on the water, seemingly motionless. Suddenly, a crack appeared, and the colossal ice mass began to tilt. In an instant, it completely overturned, sending towering waves crashing into the surroundings. A A devastating earthquake violently shook the ground, with cracks spreading like a spider web, an ominous sign of the catastrophe about to unfold. In a fateful moment, a high-rise building in Turkey completely collapsed, turning into a pile of rubble within seconds. A powerful 7.2 magnitude earthquake in Taiwan turned an ordinary badminton game into a terrifying ordeal. The court trembled, causing athletes to freeze in shock. Overhead, lights swayed precariously. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling, and the entire building quaked as if nature itself had decided to strike without warning. This sudden upheaval served as a stark reminder that in just a blink, everything could be thrown into chaos. The ground shook violently, creating deep cracks across the surface. In the blink of an eye, a massive section of the gold mine collapsed, sending tons of earth and rock crashing down like a catastrophic landslide. Thick clouds of dust billowed into the sky, obscuring everything in sight, while concrete and metal structures were crushed into a heap of rubble. Once again, the brutal force of nature served as a stark reminder of its unpredictable and devastating power. The raging floodwaters surged into the garage, submerging the car in the blink of an eye. The catastrophic October 29th flood in Valencia transformed streets into rivers, sweeping away mud, debris, and anything in its path. Amid the chaos, a young man trapped inside his vehicle miraculously escaped just before the water level rose too high. Monsoon rains pounded down relentlessly, turning roads into torrents of rushing water. The flooding in India was not only terrifying, but also eerily mesmerizing. The deluge swept away everything: cars, trees, and even entire neighborhoods, drowning vast areas under an endless sea of water. Residents struggled to find shelter as the floodwaters showed no signs of receding. The sky turned a menacing shade of gray as thick storm clouds gathered over Hong Kong, unleashing the heaviest rainfall in 140 years. Torrents of floodwater surged through the streets, engulfing vehicles and bringing traffic to a standstill. Small streams transformed into raging rivers, carrying mud and debris in their wake. Steep roads became cascading waterfalls, while towering skyscrapers stood motionless amidst nature's fury. Massive hailstones rained down like bullets, slamming into the ground with terrifying force. Lush green fields were reduced to a battlefield of ice in mere moments. Nature's fury spared nothing in its path. The ground trembled violently as a massive 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck Taiwan. In mere seconds, a towering building collapsed, sending a dense cloud of dust into the air and triggering panicked screams. Amid the raging floodwaters, a fearless man plunged into danger to rescue two children being swept away. The torrents surged around him, thick with mud and debris, but he refused to waver. With extraordinary strength, he pulled each child to safety, narrowly escaping being swallowed by the relentless currents himself. The ocean roared, and without warning, a monstrous wave crashed onto the shore, obliterating everything in its path. The catastrophic Boxing Day tsunami in Thailand engulfed entire coastal regions in an instant, leaving devastation in its wake. The Tista River in Sikkim swelled beyond control, unleashing a torrent that consumed everything in its path. Swirling currents swallowed roads, swept away vehicles, and left an entire region in turmoil. The flood came too swiftly. Many had no time to react, forced to watch helplessly as destruction unfolded before their eyes. Amid the terrifying tsunami, an unimaginable mad lad emerged. While everyone frantically fled for their lives, he calmly stood on his surfboard, riding the monstrous waves. Towering walls of water crashed down, consuming everything in sight. Yet he maintained perfect balance, as if conquering the very fury of nature itself. A brutal hailstorm just pounded Gauteng, South Africa, turning the streets into a battlefield of ice. Massive hailstones hammered the ground with deafening force, sounding like an artillery barrage. Cars, rooftops, and trees all bore the brunt of nature's relentless assault. A devastating flash flood surged across a bridge, sweeping away debris, rocks, and anything unlucky enough to be in its path. The sheer brutality of nature left onlookers frozen in fear, powerless to intervene, forced to watch as destruction unfolded before their eyes. Ferocious waves suddenly slammed into the shore, sending crowds scrambling for safety. Seawater surged over the barrier, swallowing walkways in an instant, creating pure chaos as people desperately sought shelter from the relentless onslaught. A powerful earthquake just struck Taiwan, shaking streetlights violently. This frightening spectacle quickly spread across social media, showcasing the sheer force of the tremor as it rattled the city. Catastrophic floods continue to ravage Europe, and this time, Rhodes, the paradise island of Greece, has fallen victim. Picturesque streets now lie submerged, with raging torrents sweeping away cars and bringing daily life to a standstill. Deep, ominous cracks stretched along the mountainside, foreshadowing an impending catastrophe. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently as massive chunks of earth and rock came crashing down, engulfed in a thick cloud of dust. An entire section of the mountain collapsed, unleashing a ferocious torrent of mud and debris, obliterating everything in its path. The ground suddenly trembled, with violent shockwaves rippling across the region. Instantly, the once tranquil river turned chaotic, its surface churning as if boiling with fury. Unusual waves surged higher, whirlpools formed, dragging mud and debris into their relentless grip. The sky darkened, and swirling clouds signaled an impending catastrophe. In an instant, a massive tornado formed, roaring through a residential area with unstoppable force. Its destructive power tore through everything in its path, sending dust and debris spiraling into the sky like a storm from hell. Nature was furious, and nothing could stand in its way. Do you love raw, unfiltered footage of nature's destructive power? Subscribe now so you won't miss a single moment.